Just remember, everybody's on silent, right? Okay, great. Ready when you are.
Hello, my name is Paige Dupuy.
My name is Neil Dupuy.
And I'm Bridget Eichenberg. And this is Leading Ladies.
A legacy of social reform.
Early in the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution offered new opportunities to earn money. Many American men left the farms for towns and cities.
The world of business, trade, and government was viewed as a place for men. Women, on the other hand, belonged at home where their task was to raise children.
At the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848, Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott gathered with others to discuss the social, civil, and religious status, as well as the rights of women. This would light a fire for the women's reform movement. But 50 years later, women were still struggling to gain independent voices and representation in society and government. A new generation of leadership was needed to turn these feminist ideals into reality. This is the story of Elizabeth Bisland and Nellie Bly, two young journalists in the Progressive era who used their unique positions as female reporters to become a voice for women who were powerless in the workplace, government, and sometimes even their own homes.
These ladies would embrace the legacy of social reform and establish themselves as leaders of women's rights.
Hi, Nellie, ho, Nellie, listen, love to me. I'll sing for you, play for you a dulcet melody.
Well, if it isn't my star reporter, Nellie Bly, what can I do for you?
I've been thinking over my next story. I just finished this book that was published in 1873 by Jules Verne. It's about a gentleman named Phileas Fogg who travels around the world in 80 days. I think I should try just that. Progress has been made in communication and transportation, so now's the time to put this book to the test. I have the whole route planned out. I used the book as a base for my itinerary, and with a few adjustments, I think this really can be done.
Whoa, Nellie, do you mean to tell me that you want to make this trip alone?
Yes. The World newspaper has offices in all the major cities across the globe. I could use those as checkpoints to telegraph stories back to you for publication. I've thought of it all.
Must I remind you that you are a woman? A girl can't just go gallivanting around the globe alone. It would be irresponsible of me to send you by yourself. This would be a very dangerous trip, and I would have no way of guaranteeing your safety. This is no job for a lady. We can send one of our male reporters.
Fine. You send a man. But I'll start the same day for another newspaper, and I'll beat him.
Nellie, be reasonable. You have to understand that this is a very odd request. The newspaper industry only hires a handful of female journalists. Look, you're a good reporter, Nellie, and if any person on earth could do this, it would be you.
Mr. Cockrell, this is something I really believe in. I could show the world that women can do anything a man can. Women are just as competent and capable as men. You don't have any doubts in my reporting skills or my plan for the trip. The only doubt you have in me is that I'm a woman, and that is disappointing.
Okay, I'll suggest the idea to Mr. Pulitzer. He might just go for this wild idea.
The nerve of that man. Does he feel the need to remind me I'm a woman? I am keenly aware of the fact that I live in a male-dominant society and how few rights I have. When I was a girl in Pennsylvania, my mother had to remarry after my father died to support our family. The man she married was an abusive drunk. We were lucky to escape him. Seeing my own mother beaten and hearing him call her a whore is something I can never forget. We were powerless. From then on, I decided I would never have to rely on a man again. When I came of age, I was expected to become a teacher or a cook. To get this job as a reporter for the World newspaper, I had to go undercover into an insane asylum at Blackwell's Island to expose the mistreatments of the patients there. And I didn't know if I would make it out alive. But I said I could, and I would, and I did. No one cared how dangerous that was for a woman, and I was happy to do it. I love taking risks for my assignments and going undercover to get a good story, but I am the last person who needs reminding of their gender. This woman can do the job.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Pulitzer sends Nellie Bly around the world.
Goodbye, New York. I'd rather die than come back unsuccessful.
Pulitzer advertised this trip for weeks, and due to this promotion, the Cosmopolitan sent their own female reporter on the same trip, headed the opposite direction. As Nellie Bly boarded the Augusta Victoria going east, she had no idea that there was another young girl preparing for her own adventure heading west.
All aboard! If, on the 13th of November, 1889, some amateur prophet foretold that I'd be spending Christmas Day of that year in the Indian Ocean, I hope I should call to his attention the quote, "The Lord loveth a cheerful liar," and bid him go in peace. On the 14th of November, I was summoned to the Cosmopolitan office where I'm employed. They told me I would be leaving on a trip. It appeared Joseph Pulitzer had dispatched a reporter by the name of Nellie Bly to go around the world in 80 days, and I would be testing her itinerary by going the opposite direction. I thought it was an outrageous request for me to embark on a trip without a day's notice to prepare. But I accepted the proposal, for I know how fortunate I am to have this opportunity. Who am I to turn my back on a chance to see the world, to see places I've only read about? You see, I've been a writer all my life. Back in Louisiana, I wrote poetry for the women's section in my local newspaper. My family lost everything in the war between the states, and I learned long ago not to turn a good job down. I moved to New York with $50 to my name and began writing articles exposing the injustices in the lives of women. And now that they were even considering sending a woman around the world, why, this is an opportunity I would have never gotten again. Years ago, Susan B. Anthony said, "Careful, cautious people can never bring about a reform." At last, I understood what she meant. Now was the time for courage and conviction if we really wanted to see reform and equality for women. I would have been a fool to turn this down. And I am most certainly not a fool. Extra, extra, read all about it. A typhoon in Colombo puts Bly's trip in danger, while Elizabeth Bisland is being quarantined in a smallpox outbreak. People are making bets and crowding the streets just to buy a newspaper and find out where the globe-trotting girls will be next. These women are making history.
Get off that soapbox, kid. People, do not encourage this behavior. These girls are setting a bad example of what is expected of our women. They should be at home, not on a trip around the world. They're making the citizens of this country act like animals, betting their hard-earned dollars on who will come back first. If they even come back, do we really want to teach our young women to live such scandalous lives? This is nothing but another one of Joseph Pulitzer's stunts to sell more newspapers, and you fools are falling into his trap. Men, take charge of your women. Be the leaders of the house. Be the man God created you to be. This is absurd.
On January 25th, 1890, I returned back to New York from my race around the world. I made the trip in 72 days with plenty of time to spare. Just 4 days later, I also arrived in New York, proving that this trip could be done, and it could be done by women. Because of the trip, every newspaper in America wanted their own female reporter, and young, confident women were lining up for the job. We inspired young women to seek professions and careers and live independent lives. As journalists and social reform advocates, our audience expanded and granted us access to interview suffragette Susan B. Anthony and anarchist Emma Goldman.
There is no doubt that what these ladies did in the journalism field was groundbreaking, but how they helped redefine the roles and expectations of women in the 19th century was even more significant. Nellie Bly and Elizabeth Bisland were not only racing around the world, they were racing through the very heart of the Victorian age.
We would never meet, but our lives would be forever bound together because an unerring sense of social justice was always in our souls. We helped the world see that women's rights are human rights, and all people deserve equality. Our actions would advance the fight towards the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, guaranteeing all women the right to vote.
As President John Quincy Adams said, "If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, or become more, you are a leader." And that is exactly what these women did.